Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Anime Night in the Dojo. Today's featured show, Dan to Dan, Season 2.
Yep, Dan to Dan, Season 2, Episode 10. Welcome back to the dojo. I'm Ryu. That's Age. We're back for more Anime Night in the dojo. And last week, the evil eye went to school. Gonna be a real boy, finally. After 100 or so years. Maybe 150, somewhere in there. Maybe a little bit more. He finally gets to be a real boy. He was enjoying, fruity milk or whatever that was. You know, the atypical Japanese whatever, you know, how they're into like tea milk and fruit flavored milks and that kind of thing. He was going on that and, you know, enjoying being a kid for the first time. So
yeah, we don't know how long the evil eye existed, but presumably it was quite a while, and it was less than 200 years, because 200 years ago is when the freaking the Subterraneans took over.
Right, yeah. So there is definitely a bunch of stuff that this series has set up. You know, we got none of the OG aliens coming back. I assume they'll be coming back at some point because they're pissed off. They pissed off the Subterraneans. This will be something we talk about in the season wrap up in a couple weeks. But just saying right now because we're talking about it a little bit. There's that stuff. We finally got a random, Okarun's other ball. Remember how we were getting his junk back? We only got 2 of the 3 pieces of his junk back so far. So, it's just one of those things that there's a lot going on with this series in the first 20 some odd episodes, and they've set up plenty more. So it's going to be one hell of a ride. But we know we're going into the final arc of the season here, which apparently Kaiju arc, which should be a thing. I'm sure everybody's seen it by now, so it's not really a spoiler. I don't know what happened, so I just know that there's a kaiju involved. That's like saying, oh man, Godzilla's in a Godzilla movie. Can you guys believe that? You know what I mean? So anyway, it'll be interesting to see what they do here, because I believe we got hinted at the next main cast guy, the super comic relief guy, so I can't wait to see what his deal is. So yeah, looking forward to the last 3 episodes of this season. They should be a thing. Yeah, so we're going to push some buttons to get going here, so people over on Patreon will get the timer set up for you guys, and people over on YouTube, we see you on the other side of the edit here for the discussion and review. So we're going to push some buttons and get going. So here goes something. Well, alrighty then. You guys see the Gurren Lagann glasses in this? That was cool. He also was reading one of these magazines and or books upside down at one point. That was impressive because he was hyper focused in on what Okarun was doing and how he was accomplishing, becoming cool overnight. So that took a while, because this was retcon all the way back to episode 1 and or 2 of the series. So not really even a retcon, just a different perspective with fantastic sound design, because just this whole sequence here, when they cut to him, they cut the music. It was freaking amazing. Just perfect, pitch perfect, on point sound design for what was going on here. So that was great. Even sticking him in the shocked Pikachu face scene when they did that pseudo lip contact, even though they clanked their teeth together. So whatever.
Yeah. That was actually the only one where they actually edited him in somewhere that he wasn't before, was because before we just see the friends, we don't see him. Yeah. But once again, it's playing on the whole joke of he's always there, but no one ever notices him.
Right, because that's going to be his whole gag. But either way, this whole sequence was pretty interesting. Even this, I mean, sometimes you just got to walk up and talk to somebody. Just because you're doing something outlandish and or interesting doesn't mean they're just going to be like, hey, so what are you doing, man? Going to keep going about their day and not really care that you're walking around a classroom with a Gundam figurine in your hands.
Well, what he's doing here is he's specifically trying to get Okarun's attention by flashing nerdy memorabilia at him. Hey, look at me, I'm a nerd too. Hey, pay attention to me, I'm a nerd.
Right. That's one way to do it. But either way, again, this entire sequence was hilarious, down to the point of oh yeah, you could call us friends. It's this is the first time you've talked to me, man. Like, what is even going on here? So either way, Okarune's popular now. He's cool, and he did it. That was one hell of a read. But yeah, that's this brings up some weird, like, stupid social norms that it's just like, if you're like the person who's ignored and bullied in class, nobody does anything for you. But if you're like, you know, popular and stuff, they'll immediately step in to like defend you or whatever. So Okarune's on both sides of the field at this point, or has been in this series. So it's one of those things where I forgot what was the VTuber that was like, yeah, if your rich people give you stuff for free situation.
No, that wasn't a VTuber. That's friggin' Renata Glask from League of Legends. One of her like main quotes that she's known for is it's expensive to be poor, but when you're rich, people give things to you.
Right, yeah. So it's the same thing with these kinds of things. If you're not popular or, you know, cool or whatever, most people won't give a shit about you. But if you are, oh man, all of a sudden, then you got, you know, the class rep and 2 backup dancers coming to your defense when you're talking to Momo. It's like, what? Where were you guys when people were throwing, like, books at me and stuff? You know what I mean?
Yeah, once again, she is there in the class when that's happening, but doesn't say anything. And yeah. I didn't look into it too much, but I believe the anime did kind of skip a bit of content with her. Like, I believe it is actually in the manga / source material, it is actually kind of seeded that she does have a bit of a crush on Okarune, but is never willing to actually, like, put herself out there to actually try to save him from the bullies or anything because of her own image.
Right.
And the fact that she's just a very, like, soft-spoken person to begin with.
Yep. So, but now that he's, like, more known by the school based on random crazy shit that's been going on the last, you know, couple months, now she shows up. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things that kind of aggravates me about these situations. Like, oh, now you're willing to help me. Okay. You know, I inherited my dad's super cool car and I'm driving it to school now. Oh, now you guys give a shit about me. Get the hell out of here. You know what I mean? I saw plenty of that when I was in high school. Like, there were a couple, maybe not like Okarune guys that were part of like my high school class, but their parents had like classic cars and they were part of my like dad's like circle of people who had like classic vehicles, and they started driving them to school. And all of a sudden you get people like this that want to hang out with them because they have the cool car and they want to give them a ride. Now it's just like, man, I hope you're not entertaining this crap. Because they were like the popular girls. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, no. I can't stand crap like that. It's just like, oh, so now. You know what I mean? So it was just one of those things where it just that kind of like double standard, it aggravates me. So
yeah, I kind of experienced the exact opposite of that because once again I was homeschooled most of my life, but the couple of times that I did go to public school, like when I went to like a couple semesters of high school, I had always been fairly good looking. Like I mentioned the whole thing of like I was originally scouted as a model when I was a kid. Freaking second day, I was immediately invited to like over to like a bunch of the cheerleaders' tables and stuff in the cafeteria, and like I had people freaking all initially trying to get me to join their social groups, and then, but I had like no interest in it. Pretty much immediately told them off, and then no one wanted anything to do with me anymore.
Yeah, the reverse can be true, but it's one of those things where it's just like, you know, you're only doing this for one reason. You don't really care about them. You know what I mean? No matter what direction it is. So
yeah, I pretty much immediately saw through like all of that shit and just wanted nothing to do with it, and so I just kind of told them all off, and then just didn't get involved with them ever again. And ended up eventually developing my own small social group that I hung out with.
Yep. You guys haven't seen what Shia LaBeouf said about something similar. He made a post about that recently. It's a pretty powerful post, and I suggest people take that to heart, because it's very true when it comes to any kind of socialization, especially in this day and age. Don't feel the need or pressure to associate with everybody that comes your way, because the wider your net, the more chance you have to catch bullshit and drama that you don't need in your life or want. So that is the TLDR of his whole spiel, but it is a pretty solid read, even if it is, only like a paragraph, but still, I'd recommend it for people who think, that they need to expand their friend groups or go out there and, socialize because you're called antisocial or something. It's like, nah, if you're good with your like group of like 5 people who have no drama and no bullshit, I think that's the best way to be. If you have a group of 50 people and there's no bullshit, cool. Good for you. But just one of those things where the more drama and BS in your life, more aggravating it's going to be. So I see the need to have to put up with that kind of crap. So
everyone needs to go out and make 100 friends.
Yeah, everybody needs to be Comey, right? To be fair, all 100 of those friends, that cat included, are fairly reasonable people. So, that is what it is. But anyway, that was just one of those things. I will give him props for attempting to stand up for himself. He made an attempt. It's like, hey, I'm talking here. Is anybody going to listen to me? Momo's not bothering me. Why are you fighting for me? What's happening? Hello? Need to go full Archer. Lana. So it's not like he just kind of like shrunk into the corner and just did nothing there. He made several attempts to interject. It's like, no, I don't even know who she is. Like, this is the first time I've talked to her. What you know what I mean?
Yeah, meanwhile, Momo's on full defensive because some other girl is clearly showing some form of affection towards Okarun, and then the class rep is in full she can get you to say anything right now mode.
Yeah, when
totally discrediting everything he tries to say, thinking that he's just being coerced.
I gotta raise my eyebrow at one of those tags because the Crunchyroll player did it again.
Oh,
where was there suicide in this one? In this whole series, has there been? At all? I'm gonna raise my eyebrow at that one. Where?
There was. That was the whole thing with the worm.
No, the worm, yeah. But why is it tagged in this episode and not in that one?
Yeah, the whole thing with the worm at the beginning of this season was it would drive people to suicide.
Right, yeah, that's what it was. Okay, yeah. But again, for this episode, where is it? Where are these tags coming from? I need to go back and see if they're tagging that, now. Because, okay, just like the My Dress Up Darling thing, it's like, I guess you could argue sexual violence for some of the maid stuff. But again...
Nun stuff.
The nun... Why do I keep calling it the maid stuff? Yeah, it is nun stuff. But still, beyond the Crunchyroll player just aggravating me in that way, this tag system, if it's not part of that specific episode, why is the tag there? You know what I mean? So it's one thing if the tags are there, if you go to the series, you know what I mean? If you go to the Dan to Dan page on Crunchyroll or whatever, and it has all those tags, it has all those things, violence, sexualization, thoughts of suicide, whatever. If those are the tags for the whole series as a whole, fine. But for each individual episode, I think those tags are important. Because then you look at it and go, oh, there's suicide in this one. I don't want to watch this episode or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's just the laziness, man. The laziness is unbelievably real. But either way, this whole sequence was hilarious. Still didn't get his name, perb guy, in the background there. But all this high school discussion circles back around to what I wanted to talk about was, in the case of, what'd you say his name was potentially?
I believe it's Quinta or something like that.
Let's just let's just assume it's Quinta for now. Quinta showing up and saying, how did you, how you possibly like friends with Momo? I say blah, 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 that kind of thing. It's just like, when you see a relationship, say in this case for the first time or as it developed or whatever, how it happened, unless you're literally following them around 24/7, you have no idea what events occurred that led to them becoming friends in this case. You know what I mean? Or like if it started dating or whatever, no matter what the relationship is. Like it always fascinates me when people like see like, I don't know, say we'll just use Momo and Okarun as an example. If you didn't know who they were and they were like at a concert or a sporting event or whatever, and they get like put up on the big screen and they're together, right? And they do like the little heart thing or whatever because it's like the heart challenge or the kiss cam or whatever, you know what I mean? And you look at that and go, how the hell is a guy like that with a girl like her? It's like, whenever I look at that, I kind of have that thought like, wow, she, he's really good looking or she's really good looking and the other person is kind of whatever. It's just like, well, to the end of, I have no idea what led them to be in that relationship, and neither does anybody. You know what I mean? Look at the life situations that went on with them for them to forge this relationship. You know what I mean?
I can't remember who it was now, of course, because it's freaking coming up, so therefore I'm brain farting on it. But someone over in one of my other Discords brought up on like kind of a random thing. I don't remember who it was, but some female celebrity just recently like got married to some like totally average looking nobody. And like a whole bunch of people were making a whole huge stink about like, well, why is she marrying freaking Joe Schmo over here and not like, some other big hot actor?
Right. And you just don't know. You know what I mean? And a lot of people aren't going to share their life story. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want us to recount the whole alien thing and everything that's been going on with them? You know what I mean? You're under no obligation to explain how you became into a relationship with anybody. You know what I mean? It is what it is. It just happened. People need to start accepting that. It's like, I can't believe you associate with this person. It's like, you've known them for 5 minutes. Yeah, they might look like an asshole in those 5 minutes, but whatever. You know what I mean? I've known them. You don't. That kind of thing. They have this relationship because of everything that they went through. You don't know what happened with them, so that is what it is. You can't just let the first appearance or them being together all of a sudden be like, oh man, I can't believe you're doing this. It's like, I'm sure if you had the whole context, you might understand why they're hanging out now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. As far as everyone at school is concerned, freaking Okarun until recently was just some antisocial nerd who never really interacted with anyone.
Yep.
And Momo, apart from her couple other Gyaru friends, was just rebellious bully who no one really wanted to be around because she was violent.
Yep.
But yeah, like no one actually really paid either of them much of any mind. So no one really knew about the fact that, for example, Momo is a nerd as well.
Yep. So it's just one of those things where if you don't have the whole picture, the whole story, then you probably shouldn't really worry about it unless it's somehow affecting you in a serious manner. Not an, oh man, I'm on a diet, screw that guy over there who's eating a donut, that guy can't eat a donut. It's like, you're kidding, right? Same situation. How is it affecting you? You gotta ask yourself that question. You know what I mean? It's one thing if, you've been friends with Okarun and, they, all of a sudden he's just become distant and now he's all of a sudden hanging out with this person. Maybe you just have a serious discussion with them. And obviously, that's my thought process as an adult. High schoolers are going to have a different thought process because, they're younger. I was like that before, but not to that extent. But still, it's one of those things where you just kind of got to look at it and go, hey, don't worry about it. Like, if I ever have kids and they go through this kind of drama bullshit, I'm going to be like, do you know everything that happened? No? Then shut the hell up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Worry about you.
Yeah, in the case of this situation, like I said, I believe we did skip a little content that like implies that the Glass Rep did already have somewhat of a crush on Okaroon, but was never willing to do anything with it.
Right.
Now she's just kind of finally seeing an opportunity to try to do something about it.
Yep. So we'll just have to see if any more comes of that. The spicy talk thing, that was hilarious. You can't assume that just because they're talking about testicles that she's into that. She's into, quote, spicy talk. Once again, you need the whole story. You know what I mean? You cannot jump to conclusions. Don't do it. So, either way, but that whole sequence, that was great. I do appreciate that they framed the freaking paint can here and then actually did something with it. You know what I mean? It's just like, generally speaking, it's like, wow, that's kind of interesting. There's like a random paint can. Yes, this is an abandoned apartment complex, whatever. There might be random old paint cans playing around, whatever. But I kind of looked at that, and every time you see something in the background of a scene and go, they're gonna do something with that, right? It's not like it's a fence or like the you can see on the wall over there, like the little cardboard billboard thing with the notices and stuff like that, and the mailboxes. Those are supposed to be there. That you see those all the time. But a random paint can, whenever I see something like that, I go, they're gonna do something with that, right? And they did. Yeah. So
it's Chekhov's paint can,
pretty much. So. Either way, I'm glad they immediately got into it. No waiting. Oh, kaiju. You know what I mean? This whole sequence was solid for what they were doing. They got into, we talked a little bit about how he figured out what was going on here. That kind of thing. So that checks out from a scientific standpoint of, like light refraction and stuff like that. So him being the tech sci-fi nerd, figuring that out, props to him. There you go. That's probably going to be his spiel in the group, even if he doesn't end up with a power, which I don't know if he does or doesn't. I don't have that information. Even if I did, I wouldn't talk about it because that would be spoilers. But that's probably going to be his shtick for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not aware if he's going to get a power, but he clearly doesn't have any sort of real power yet because, once again, he couldn't see Momo's abilities or that Okaroon was transformed. Yeah. The only comment he ever even made addressing that was just the comment of like, yeah, you're gonna have to explain what you guys are at some point comment. But prior to that, he was fully addressing them totally normally and not making any freaking addressing anything of supernatural actually happening.
Yeah. Because like
you can't see it.
Just like last week when we talked about how everybody was just, oh yeah, Gigi's being weird again. They didn't see him as the evil eye. You know what I mean? They can't see it. If you don't have supernatural ability, you're not going to be able to see that kind of stuff. So you just kind of see, in the Gigi case, you just see Gigi being weirder or different. You know what I mean? In this case, he's just seeing Okaroon carrying Momo around piggyback. You know what I mean? Not in his transformed form. He just got caught by something that clearly Momo did, but he can't see what's happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he can't. He couldn't see Momo's hand, but he realized that she did something to catch him. And, like, he can't see that Okaroon's transformed, but he still sees Okaroon freaking zipping all over the place at supernatural speeds.
Yep. But in the other side of it, everybody can see the floating ball because it showed up on camera. And the regular people could see it.
Because the ball is a physical object. We saw that with the previous one with like Ira, who had no supernatural powers, was able to find it.
Yep. So either way, solid sequence. The nerdening continues. Definitely a kaiju, Shaq sized at this point. And then, then he wasn't Shaq sized. He's several Shaqs.
I will point out it's a wacky Wing Pluto line for like Tube Man.
Yeah, it was.
I'm pretty much. I can pretty much guarantee it's probably some like alien controlling it or something like that, and it's just some machine. Because once again, it was using sci-fi tech to cloak, and then when you actually look at it, it's clearly like some sort of inflatable something or other.
Yep. Yeah, it definitely looked very inflatable when it started becoming larger. You know what I mean? So that's going to be kind of funny. But nonetheless, this should be interesting. So again, the sound design, brilliant. Bravo. Gotta bring that up as often as I can because it's overlooked a lot of the times, and I always want to talk about it. So either way, solid episode for what it was. They didn't drag. You know what I mean? We're getting right into it. Just boom, kaiju time. All right. No 3 episodes of setup, and now we're gonna go look for the ball, and then kaiju time. Solid pacing. So that's all I got for this one. You got anything else, Age?
I don't think so.
Alrighty then. Well, ladies and gentlemen, people of YouTube, beyond whoever you're watching, we always appreciate you stopping by and hanging with us here in the dojo for more Anime Night in the Dojo. And this was Dan to Dan, Season 2, Episode 10. So have a good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you. Have a good one. See you next time.
Hey everyone, Victoria here. If you enjoyed the video, please consider pushing those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thanks again for your time, and we hope to see you again in the future.